generational change definitely impacts the gender roles in our relationship because, I mean, I didn't marry a feminist. I just didn't. Like, that's not the person that I found when I got married. I married somebody that was from a very traditional West Indian two-parent household kind of background where, his mom is just she's a superwoman. When I met him, she was like working 2 jobs. She makes 3 meals a day, just countless hours on end. Even as a young person, I'm just like, I'm tired looking at you, just watching you. I'm just like so tired. And even my family has its traditionalness in a sense because we're Southern. I'm from Los Angeles. My family is originally from Louisiana and Texas. And there's a very traditional idea of what a woman should be and how she should be. And, some of the young women out there might be able to relate to the things that you're told as you're coming up. Like, if you do this, you won't ever get a husband. Or no one wants to marry somebody that does X, as if getting married is the dream to aspire to. And, while that is something to aspire to for some, that might be one of the things on the list of things to accomplish. It's not the only thing, and it doesn't have to be the primary thing. And I think that now, us ladies are very focused on where we can get ourselves to and, investing in our professional careers. And so that definitely changes the dynamic in a relationship where you have someone else coming in who is also like, I'm just as capable of being a breadwinner as you are, and I'm equally matched, and I have all of these skills and talents, and no, it doesn't have to be me. That's the person doing everything. And I'm all about, and I know you are too, like getting help. This whole facade that like this great, Instagram, social media just really just magnifies it. Right. This whole every mom can do, everything. Like, let's just tell the truth. Let's just pull back the veil, cut to all the videographers and stuff in the background. Right. Like, there's a babysitter. Like, some people get their meals prepped. You get the house cleaned. Somebody else is picking up and dropping off the kids. Like, you need support to be able to operate at this level. And as an executive, whenever people are like, I don't know how you do it, I would be tired. Like, yes, I am extremely tired, and it's not easy to try to cater to my husband and to my children and focus on my career at the same time. But I find that like getting help and being communicative with your partner, like sometimes we make assumptions, like you see me doing all this, so you know that I'm tired, and that like if I'm making dinner, isn't it obvious that you should wash dishes, or isn't it obvious that you should be doing homework with the kid while I'm like doing these things? But sometimes it's not obvious because that person is tired and they're thinking about, I'm tired, like I just want to lay down. And so, really just oversharing, like I really would like some support in this. I really need some help in this way. And really teaching your partner, and really this applies to anyone, teaching people how to treat you and how you like to engage, and what being just very verbal about what your needs are. I find, sometimes I'm assuming that he should know things, and once I express them, he's like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was doing that. And, we can start to change the way things have gone. But I think that we've gotten better over time, and, he's getting used. He's not perfect. Like, we wouldn't be telling the truth if we sat here and said, every time I need something, he knows, and he comes into the rescue. But, if I'm like, I'm at my wit's end, I'm tired, come and get these kids. Here he comes. Sleepy red eyes and all, he's going to come in and get them. And
well, Renita, if I can keep it real too, as great as these millennial husbands are, there are still some gender roles that we still do. You and I laugh about it all the time. Like, if this week my daughter was sick, who was the one who jumped out of work or who stayed out of work to take care of her? Or, we have a 1-year-old at home. My husband can do a lot, but I'm her primary caregiver most times. School calls me, annoyingly sometimes, but they call me and will take me out of a meeting sometimes to try to get me before they even think about calling dad. So there are definitely some gender roles that are still in play, at least in our family. As good as my husband is, and just, there's some things that we maybe as moms just do because we just are used to doing it. We saw our moms doing it. Right. But, we're not, I don't think, I don't want to portray that millennial dads are, strapping kids to themselves and walking into work, because that's not what companies do, unfortunately. I think companies also need to take some responsibility for allowing men to have that flexibility, so that then we can do have a little bit more parity in the relationship in terms of caregiving.
I appreciate what you said a lot, and it's actually a good segue into like my thought. Hearing you guys talk about this, and you guys hit on this, a lot of the same topics.
There was actually a comment that I wanted to make, if you don't mind, before you shift gears.
Okay, for your third time on this topic,
Yeah.
go ahead.
It's an important topic. And so you see, now that he's done that, now I have to like roll him under the bus. You know, there was a time when I worked on a project for 6 months. You know, I was the person that was managing this thing, and it was going to be a really big deal. We were presenting to the director. You know, this was my work. And the day of, you know, my daughter got sick, and the assumption, I don't even think he was doing anything that was like monumental that day. It was just like, I got to be in the office.
Right.
And I had to sit out this thing that I had been preparing for 6 months for someone else to present my work. And we have the conversation all the time in the past. We talked about like the importance of men not acting like they don't have a home life. Like it's like women come to work, we talk about our kids, we talk about our responsibilities at home, the bosses talk about the kids, everyone asks about them. I don't hear anyone ask any fathers about their kids. And, you know, sometimes I get on him and I'm like, tell them that you need to leave for X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it's just like, no, I can't say that. Like, that's not the culture. Like, that's not how this goes. But it's like, in order for it to get to that point, somebody's going to have to be the person that is the man that's saying, my kid is sick or my child has this. I have to leave at this time because of this parental responsibility. And until we break that that conversation ice with the men, it's not going to happen.
Going back to your point about how there's some generational change, but it's not completely different with the millennial dads. I appreciate the honesty about that, because as I think about the way I grew up in a Caribbean home, my father himself, even though there were like gender roles that were apparent, but he was very hands-on as it related to getting my sisters and I ready while my mother was cooking. So there was teamwork that I saw there. But let's talk about, let's say, modern day. I think now, even if, let's say, like John and I are admitting we're not hitting on every single milestone that we would want to, or let's say hitting on all cylinders as it relates to making the home 50-50, but I think there's not only a willingness, but there are times where we're taking on those tasks. So I think about like the overall everything around fungibility. So not thinking I can't do this or I won't step into this because this isn't my job. I think that mindset, there's been a mindset shift, which is kind of like the beginning of the overall process of all of us getting our hands in and getting our hands dirty. We all have young kids, so literally our hands dirty with the diapers. But I'd say that Renita's point about us getting help is a huge one. And I think at the point where I was when I was going to get married, coming from a Caribbean home, you know, you don't really hear about like getting outside help. That sounded like something different that was outside of the culture. But we live in a different time. Our jobs demand a whole lot of time. Kelli and Renita put in hours the same way John and I put in hours. But in the role that I'm in now, working in product strategy and management, I have to put in long hours as it relates to being in there early and sticking around late. But what I will do and what I'm conscious of is understanding like when she has a big presentation or when she needs me and will let me know, okay, you know, I don't tap into this all the time, because we try to, as partners, make it work on our hours and when we're in work. But if she needs me to come home early, I'll make things happen so that I can get myself away, work with the kids, do whatever I need to do, whatever errands we need, so that we can balance it out.
With that, I'd like to ask, what do you guys think are some of the myths that you'd like to dispel about for young people of color who want to build a relationship and a professional career at the same time? What are the myths that you would like to dispel about doing that?
I think the big one you brought up is that it's not easy. Like, it's hard. It requires a lot of work, right? Like, you can't look at Claire Huxtable and Cliff Huxtable and be like, that's it. It's easy. I'm just going to show up to work. I'm going to be a boss. I'm going to go home, take care of the kids. That's not real life. And be a boss at home and run stuff, and me and my partner are going to get on great. Like, no, that's not how it is. Like, literally, every day, every week, we like plan out. Like on the weekends, like we literally sit down with the laptops and go over like where our finances are.
Right.
Like this is
Right.
what we do. It's a lot of work, and anything worth having is worth working hard for. And again, going back to like our social media, Instagram society, you see people, they're traveling, they're corporate raiders, or they're, you know what I mean, at the top of the, climbing the corporate ladder and all of that. And they have this incredible, or apparently incredible home life as well, but you don't see like the other side of that, right? Like if that's even real, you know. So that's the big myth that I think needs to be addressed or dispelled.
One of the things that we actually went out with a group of friends last night, and I think that we got into a big one of these myths, which is that like you have to be this perfect package before you're ready to be in a situation with someone. As opposed to, you know, you guys met as students. You know, when we met,
I was bartending.
He was bartending. I didn't have no job. You know, it was like, you know, I lost my job right before the economic downturn. I didn't have no job like that, literally. But I saw the potential in him and he in me and what we could build together. And I think that that's often overlooked now. People feel like I have to be all the way, you know, and I think that for us ladies, I think we probably make more concessions than the guys do because guys are black women are like the most educated group in America. And I think your
shoulder go up a little bit when you said that.
I mean, we are degreed up. And we are. And I think that that's something to celebrate. But at the same time, I think that and thankfully so, our male counterparts are kind of turning the corner on that narrative and that stigma that has been on black men for a long time. And so, you know, the conversation we were having last night, our friends were kind of like, one of them was a very successful woman who also, you know, works for a financial institution, rising in the ranks. And the other, you know, was a guy who, you know, he recently graduated with his second degree. He's in a good, stable position, working his way up in his career. And he's in the point where he feels like, you know, I'm still building myself. I have to get to this point before I can. And her point was about, well, what more could you build with someone who was at the same, you know, place as you, or someone who could push you to be better. And that's something that I think that we've always tried to, you know, I didn't think before I met him that I was going to get an Ivy League MBA or that I would get an MBA at all or what. I had no idea I'd be doing what I was doing now, but I met him and I saw his drive and I'm like, oh my God, this guy is like the hardest working person I literally have ever met. And I can't, if I want to be with him, I got to step it up.
Right.
And so that actually is what encouraged me to like go after the degree and do all of that. And, you know, people look at us now, like I'm sure they do you, and they're like, oh, you guys are bosses and that, you know, this goals. And like, it wasn't always goals. Like this was like down in the gutter, like grinding together. You know, sometimes we were like, can we, how are we going to afford? How are we going to afford this? How are we going to afford to live in this city?
You don't mind me jumping in. Also, you hit on something that I liked that Kelli was bringing out, which is the honesty. So, you know, things are great now, but like, let's say some people don't share enough on how they got there. So when we talk about, I was bartending, she was a student, it wasn't this fairy tale that took place and then we got to the roles that we're in now. I was also working as a financial planner and bartending at the same time, so sometimes 16-hour days, right? She'd come pick me up, like at those times at night. Make sure, you know, we got home together. I was home safe. Just thinking about sharing that grind. Talking to people we knew, sharing exactly what it is that we do. So with that, we're able to build out a network. So, like, we appreciate the network of friends we have now, which, you know, they were students, we're all like professionals, but we will be quick to sit down and talk about, you know, what's working for you guys. You know, not too long ago, we were at their homes and they were sharing some tidbits around finance related to credit with us, you know, and that exchange goes on back and forth. But the more we talk about, you know, what's actually really happening, I think we create a space for young mentees, young people that are aspiring to get to the next level, to understand what the blueprint is like to getting there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the other thing I would mention too, Renita, one of the things you talked about too was getting help. And I can 100% relate. Both being you know, my mother is Latina, my family, like, nobody had help. Like, nobody.
Right.
My mom constantly, and my mom watches my children now, sometimes begrudgingly, but she watches our children. She helps make our lives happen.
Right.
And quite honestly, sometimes it's just about asking for help. Like, we don't have to do this alone. We have other couples that we can lean on if we're
Right.
going through something, or if we just need advice about how do we get to this next level. We're not alone. And that's one of the myths I would like to dispel, is that Black love, Black marriages exist. We are getting married. We are creating wealth. We are creating families after marriage. You know, we exist, and you're not alone. And I think that's the beauty and the myth, is that I think social media, TV, reality TV will have you all thinking that we're all baby mamas. We're all out there living together. Nothing wrong with living together. But there are those of us who are getting married, setting up families, buying houses, doing things. You can do that, and it's okay. And like you said, there is strength in numbers. Actually, married men live longer. They're healthier. They're better taken care of.
I heard about that one.
They'll live better if they'll live better if they listen to their wives. Happy wife, happy life. But in all honesty, married men live better. They live well. And so, what the myth is that we're not getting married, but we are. And there's help, and there's communities of married couples, strong married couples and families that you can pull on in those hard times, or when you need help, or if you need somebody to give you guidance to say it's going to be okay. So that's what I would talk to.
Yeah, I think another myth I'd say is that relationships hold you back.
Yeah.
You know, some people think that, you know, if I can't focus on love, I can't focus on a
Right.
relationship because I got to focus on my career.
Right.
I can focus on my grind.
Right.
And it's about really, you can do both, but you got to find the right person. It's like,
Yes.
what things are you looking for? What what qualities and attributes, and where are you
Yeah.
looking for people? And are those people goal oriented? And are they career minded? Are they thinking about the future and how to actually set up a foundation to have that? You know, you can't, it's the whole going back to what's equally yoked. We've been in this relationship since we were 24 years old, before any of us had anything.
Yeah.
But the thing that we had in common, even though we're in different industries, we have different strengths, different skills, we had conversations about what we wanted, and we took the time to get to know each other and what our goals were, what our values were, what our foundations were, and we realized actually we can do this together. We can do this on parallel tracks. You know, the job that he was in when we met, you know, at one point he was just felt like this is not working for me, and even though we were dating, he still looked to me like I'm not happy, you know, and it was, you know, me, not that I'm taking all the credit for what he's been able to do, because he's extraordinary, but he had a partner that was there like, you know what, if you're not happy, leave.
Yeah.
You know, and if it comes down to it, I got you. And it wasn't that I was making $1 million. I'm nowhere near. I was a frontline government staff, you know, worker. So wasn't making much, but it was like, whatever I have, we have.
Before you steal all my thunder, because that was going to be part of my next story there. I know I do want to say that some of those myths that you really want to dispel is the overall support system, and also in addition, the point you were making about doing it all in parallel, having that relationship and driving as well. I remember that specific point in time where I knew that once you gave me the support and said, you know, hey, you're not happy, let's move on. It kind of felt like it clicked, and that's all I needed to hear, because in my head, I'm just thinking about, okay, this is heavily on the sales side, and my family eats, you know, if I succeed. So there was a huge stressor on my back. But, you know, once I felt like I had that support, I knew that, you know, not only God was going to make a way, but I knew that the support was definitely what I needed. It kind of opened the door for me and made me feel like it's okay now to completely walk away. Also, I want to share part of like a closed door conversation I had with a high level exec while I was rising the ranks in my career, where she pointed out specific people that were being elevated. And as we talk about relationships, she separated the level of maturity between two individuals and said that, well, you know, he's squared away, he's married, and he looks at things in a complete different way. So to your point about that is even like counted in the boardroom, and I had no idea that would be one of those qualities that count for me.